Next up for Blackburn Rovers is a bit of a mid-table crunch clash as Stoke City are the visitors. But are we about to see the return of a star man? We'll talk about that and more next. That's right, folks, back once again with another match preview, this time looking forward to Blackburn Rovers up against Stoke this weekend, and we'll get to that in just 1 second. If you're new to the channel, smash your subscribe button, give you a bang out to date with all things Blackburn Rovers related, championship related, world football related. We're going to all here under one roof. Now, let's take a look at it in a bit more detail. The match does take place this Saturday at Ewood Park, and that is the 6th of April, and Stoke City are managed by Nathan Jones. I just googled it just to make sure. Last time out, or in the last season, Stoke finished 19th. That's right, in the Premier League, and we're relegated to this mad old division where it's like I don't know, it's like a rat's nest or something like that. It's once you're in, boys. You're going to have to do something miraculous to get yourselves out of it. The key man for me this weekend will be Jack Butland. Obviously, he's a goalkeeping superstar, England international. And I'll tell you a little bit more about him in a second. The last time that these two sides met at Ewood Park was a 4-1 win on Valentine's Day 2015. That's right, Rovers coming out on top. Now, the two sides have met each other 93 times in all competitions, all grounds over the years. We've won 43, they've won 15. They've won 35, and we've drawn 15 between us. Now, the expected lineups, I'm going to go over them in just a second. First and foremost, quick look at the suspensions and injuries for Blackburn Rovers. There's no registered suspensions according to my data. As for injuries, Corey Evans is out, but he could be back to face Stoke this weekend. I'm actually hopeful they will be there. Gladwin and Dominic Samuel are long-term absentees. Here is my starting lineup. As you can see, there is no Harry Chapman, but I'll tell you more about that in a sec. I've gone for Raya, goal-scoring machine, Amari Bell, left-back, Mulgrew, Lenihan, and Nyambe, back four, and that's the same back four that started the game against Aston Villa. Evans, I've actually gone for the nod on him, alongside Lewis Travis, Dak, Armstrong, Rothwell, and Graham up top. I've gone for Rothwell. I don't know what's gone on or why he doesn't get the start, but he's an explosive player who makes things tick. And I'm hoping at home, in the front of the Ewood faithful, he can get his engine roaring again and maybe be the dynamo that Rovers need in midfield. Dak, it can create stuff, but he's not as... I don't think he's as fast as Rothwell and explosive. As for Chappers, I think he has been rumoured to be floating in and around the first team squad, as expected to take part in some games as the season comes to a close, and there aren't that many left, and I feel that this could be the opportunity that we will see his name on the bench at the very least. So fingers crossed for that, because that'll be another great option to bring off the bench, and a lot of Rovers fans are excited to look at that. Quickly, the stats now for Rovers. Current top scorer, the current top goal scorer is Ballydack with 15 goals to his name. Graham has 14 goals. Mulgrew has 10. Armstrong has 8. As for the discipline, Smallwood and Lenihan both have 8 yellows. Bennett has 7, as does Evans. As for the Reds, Williams has 2 and Smallwood has 1. Quick look at the last 5 results for Rovers. It's not pretty reading, folks. Obviously, we lost against Aston Villa last time out. That was on the 30th of March. Before that, we did lose to Sheffield Wednesday 4-2. And that was on the 16th of March. Before that, though, we did get a win, finally. And that was the last time we were at Ewood Park. It was a 3-0 win over Wigan. Before that, we also lost at Ewood Park against Northwest rivals, Preston North End. That was a 1-0 loss on the 9th of March. And all the way back, 2nd of March, we lost to Rotherham. 3-2. Luna's on the horizon here, and she is very... She's grinding away on the bone, but she's venting her anger as Rovers' form is horrific. The next 5 fixtures, though, for Rovers are this. Obviously, we take on Stoke next, but then we take on Derby the 9th of April. That's on Tuesday, so quick fire games. Then it's Nottingham Forest at their place on the 13th of April, before we take on QPR, who sacked their manager, McLaren, earlier this week. That's on Easter Friday, Good Friday, 19th of April. And then on Monday, 22nd of April, quick fire games as well. We take on Bolton at Ewood. And they're having a torrid old time at the moment. Quick look at Stoke now. No registered suspensions, no registered injuries. So according to this, clean bill of health. I'm actually going to go with a 4-4-1-1. And would you just look at the who's who in this starting 11? Butland, England international. Shawcross, I think he had an England cap. Indy had a Dutch cap. Bojan obviously was on Barcelona's books. Allen was formerly of Liverpool. Ince was formerly of somebody. And Afobe up top leading the line. But anyway, here's the quick rundown of the whole team. I did skip out a few. Butland in goal. Indy, Bath, Shawcross, and Edwards at right back. He doesn't have a picture on Foothead, but you just imagine him in there. McLean, Atobu, Allen, and Ince in midfield. Bochan supporting FOB up top. Goal scorers, though, for Stoke. Not the prettiest of reading, but FOB's got 9. Allen's got 6. Ince 6. And Barrinho, wherever he may be, has 5 goals. McLean has 10 yellows to his name. That's a high number. Allen has 9, Adam has 6, Williams has 6. As for the Reds, Williams, Klukas, and Itobu all have 1 red card to the name. Now here we go, the last 5 results for Stoke. Would you believe 5 clean sheets on the bounce, boys? 5 clean sheets on the bounce, and that's 4 0-0s in there as well. Back-to-back 0-0. Stoke City took on Sheffield Wednesday, Reading, Derby, and QPR, all with 0-0. So they're struggling to score, but their defence is airtight. So we'll be lucky to get any goals. If we can score against them, then fair dues to our attacking lineup. The last victory was the 2nd of March, so unbeaten in a bit of a while. We'll have a look at the form book in a second. As for the next 5 fixtures, obviously Rovers next, then they take on Swansea at the Liberty, then they take on Rotherham back at the 365. Then it's Middlesbrough on the 19th of April and Norwich on the 22nd. Quick look at some more form books for you. The last 5 home matches for Rovers, obviously. The last home match was against Wigan. It was a 3-0 win. Before that, though, back-to-back losses against Bristol City, Middlesbrough, and Preston. All the way back on the 26th of Jan, we did beat Hull 3-0, and we also beat Ipswich 2-0. So when we win quite good. We also win airtight. So I'm thinking, if I'm a betting man, I'm going to take a 0-0 draw on this one. As for Stoke's last 5 away matches, it's not pretty reading. It's not as pretty reading as their form book suggests. They haven't won in these last 6. They've picked up 4 draws, and they lost to Hull and a loss to Brentford. Now, how about the last 5 times that these two sides have met in all competitions? Now, last time out, they did meet earlier in the season at the 365. We held on for a 3-2 win over Stoke. Like I said before that, we beat them 4-1 back in 2015 on Valentine's Day. You have to go back to the 2012 since our last defeat, and it was actually at Ewood Park, 2-1 loss. And that was actually a good run for Stoke, beating us on 3 occasions back to back. Now, how about the last 5 or 6 fixtures at Ewood Park? Obviously, last time out, again, 4-1 win. But before that, you have to go all the way back to 2008 for our victory over Stoke. What's going on elsewhere this weekend? There are some games going on midweek. I'm not going to talk about those. I'm going to talk about this weekend's action. Sheffield Wednesday take on Villa. That's a bit fruity. Steve Bruce goes up against his old club Villa to show him who's boss. What else we got? Bolton against Ipswich. That's at the foot of the table. 9-point deducted. Birmingham take on Leeds. This weekend as well on Saturday. All these games seem to be taking place on Saturday, so we have a slam-packed schedule up ahead. Preston take on Sheffield United. The leaders, Norwich, take on QPR. That is the early kickoff. Will they have a new manager in place? Who knows? Quick look at the table. Norwich are top of the pops by 5 points now, so they look to be dead set on promotion. Leeds are hot on the heels, though, as Sheffield United stumbled in the last match. West Brom, Villa and Derby occupy the playoffs. As for the bottom, Ipswich, Bolton and Rotherham are looking doomed at the moment. Millwall, Wigan and Reading not out of the water just yet. How about the form book now? Let's take a look at it. Coming into this, where are we? We are 19th spot. We've picked up 1 win, 1 draw, and 4 losses at the past 6 games overall. Whereas our visitors this weekend, Stoke, they're in 11th spot, 1-1, and drew 5 on the spin. So, pretty good. It looks pretty good, pretty healthy. Now, how about obviously, we looked at the home form, but this is where it is on the grand scheme of things. Our home form is 15th out of all 24 sides in the Championship. Right smack in the middle of the table is where we are. How about Stoke's away form? They are actually the 17th worst, or 17th best away form in the Championship. We are 21st, but it doesn't matter because we're at Ewood Park this weekend. Quick look at the top goal scorers in the division. Pookie is still number 1 with 24 goals. Hot on his heels, though, is Billy Sharp with 23. Tammy Abraham is in there. Obviously, he scored against us last weekend with 22. Che Adams and Jared Bowen are hot on their heels as well, 21. Malpe, Rodriguez, Gale, McBurney, and Graben occupy the top 10. A goal by Dacky Boy this weekend would probably see him pop into that top 10. Can it happen? Let's hope and see. Because his first season in the Championship, to get in the top 10 goal scorers as a midfielder, not too shabby. As for the assist makers, Hernandez, Lolly, Krasicki, and Benarama are the top assist makers with 11. Hunhain, who didn't even... he actually only made the substitutes bench against Rovers. He is in joint 5th or whatever. He's got 10 assists to his name. Okay, now you've heard a little bit what I've had to say about the match. Now what you really want to hear is what the opposition fans have to say. And I'm joined once again by Dave Cowlishaw, who is Stoke City supporter and host of Wizards of Drivel podcast for Stoke City. Yes, right. Link to that bad boy in the old description below. So he's going to comment on all things Stoke City. Now, just in case they haven't seen you the first time around, tell them a little bit about yourself and why on earth you support Stoke City.
Well, it's a bit of a strange one because I'm actually closer to Blackburn than I am to Stoke. I live in Lytham St Anne's, so a bit more sort of black ball territory. But my dad basically took me to Stoke ever since I was 5, so I've had a season ticket there for about at least 15 years, I think. And I think partly due to my exile in Lancashire, I've had a need to talk about Stoke quite a lot, and hence I started the Wizards of Drivel podcast.
Yeah, very good podcast indeed. So make sure if you got an urge to listen to all things Stoke, that's the place to go. Anyhow, so let's in this one, we're going to kind of do like a mid-season review kind of thing and touch a little bit on the Blackburn Rovers game this weekend. So Stoke have had a bit of ups and down seasons, a couple managers as well. So they both managers bringing in their own types of players. I think I'm not too sure if Jones had a transfer window or not. But anyway, who's been your best player from your eyes this season?
Well, that's not the most hotly contested of categories, to be honest, the way our season's gone. There have been players who've had good runs of form, players who've had really good games, but no one has really put a lock on the Player of the Season awards as far as I'm concerned. But I would say that all things considered, if I had to vote right now for my Player of the Season, it would be our Nigerian midfielder Peter Atebo, who has really come on under Nathan Jones and had that quality about him under Gary Rowett, but perhaps wasn't given the freedom to kind of show his qualities. But he is a box-to-box dynamic midfielder. He's great range of passing, great positional play, and he is only 23 and he could go really, really far in the game. He had a great World Cup with a very poor Nigeria side, but we're just really hoping we can keep hold of him in the summer.
Yeah, well, I was just looking at your expected team sheet, and there's a who's who of world football in there, you know. So it's quite weird to see you guys not at the sharp end of the championship. But hey, it's a tough old division anyway. So he's been your best player, but obviously, what about the opposite end of the scale? Who's been an absolute turkey for you this season?
Yeah, a lot more competition for this one. We had a few duff loans. Cuco Martina and Ashley Williams from Everton have both been really poor. Obviously, Cuco Martina's gone back now. But I think in terms of more what he did off the pitch and what he did on it, Saido Berahino has had headlines on front pages of newspapers rather than back pages. He's consistently let the fans down, consistently let his teammates and management staff down. He's, I think, been frozen out completely from the squad now. He will be got rid of in the summer for how much, God only knows, because if I was a manager of any club, wouldn't be touching him with the barge pole. And we thought after he finally broke his goal-scoring duck for us, I think he's maybe scored 4 or 5 this season in total now, that would be the straw that broke the camel's back, and that he'd be willing and ready to play for us all the time, and we'd see that player that West Brom had, but we just haven't. He's been such a disappointment.
Okay, all right. Okay, what about through the academy and any of the youngsters coming through the ranks? Anyone that could? I think actually you might have a good young right back in the fold now. But any other hot prospects that Stoke fans can get excited about?
Yeah, well, it's actually been quite a good few weeks for us on that front. Like you say, Tom Edwards is the right back who has really, really progressed this season. He's now our first choice right back. He's very assured. He's a fantastic crosser of the ball. And so I think he'll almost certainly get young player of the season. But we've also had Thibaut Verlinden, who came in for his debut against Reading and had a very good game indeed. Very exciting Belgian winger, only 19 years old. And out on loan, we've got Harry Suter, who is getting rave reviews from Fleetwood Town fans, and Tyrese Campbell, who looked like he was going to be a part of our first team squad, but he's gone on loan to Shrewsbury. But in general, I'd say that the future is definitely bright. But obviously, with him establishing himself as first choice right back ahead of Martina with Premier League experience and Moritz Bauer with Premier League experience, you've got to tip your hat to Tom Edwards.
Well, you touched on him a little bit earlier, the loans and all that kind of good stuff. And again, you had two managers, possibly two different transfer policies, I guess. But who's been the best signing for Stoke City this season?
Well, if you remove Atebo from the equation, because he was sort of signed by the transfer team before Rowett, so it was kind of a slightly different situation there. Nathan Jones had, I'd say, about 5 to 10 days of transfer window left, where he signed Sam Vokes, who's been injured lately and we kind of yet to see the best from, and he also signed Danny Bart. And if you look at our recent run of keeping clean sheets, you've got a lot of that you've got to pin down to Danny Bart. He's got a real good understanding with Shawcross already. He is not the most cultured or quickest of defenders, but he just seems to do everything right at the moment, and he's just a natural leader on the pitch, and with that could prove to be a very shrewd signing for next season.
Yeah, I did notice that. I think it's 5 clean sheets on the spin, at least for Stoke. I don't know, it might be longer than that, but yeah, airtight, I would say, the defence at the moment. Okay, what about any absolute shockers for transfer business? Anything that you're thinking, wish you had you showed the receipt and get your money back, kind of like us with Ben Brereton a little bit?
Yeah, well, there's a few that very much the jury is still out on. I mean, Tom Ince was kind of highly rated, but he has had his moments. But I think anyone who's been a fan of a club with Tom Ince in the side will know he's very patchy. He can go missing for a lot of the time. Benik Afobe, again, we'd hoped he would be the main man up front and hasn't lived up to, I think, a £10 million price tag. James McLean as well, £5 million, just not that creative when we needed him to be. But if you're talking worst signing of the season, it emerged today that our fee for Gary Rowett from Derby County was £1.9 million. And given that all the three I mentioned were Gary Rowett signings, I think that was the transfer that started off this chain of terrible transfers. So Gary Rowett is my worst signing of the season.
Yeah. I actually I rated him as a manager prior to his Stoke days.
I did as well.
Okay, what about who's we've covered best and worst players, but who is your favourite? Who do you look forward to watching week in, week out?
Well, usually the player I most look forward to watching week in, week out is the player who, for one reason or another, whether it's fitness or just not fitting in the system, hasn't always started week in, week out, and that is Bojan, who got his first 90 minutes since August 2016 at the weekend against Sheffield Wednesday, and was fantastic. And it's kind of salve for me that I can say, yes, this is what happens when you start Bojan. He is a fantastic player. There's a reason he was at Barcelona, and the Bojan issue has become quite contentious with the fans. There are fans like me who say the guy is undoubted quality. You've got to give him a run of games in the team. You've got to let him have that freedom to express himself as a footballer, because he just has an ability to pick delightful little passes, his use of space, his control under pressure from 6-foot blokes that are twice the size of him. All that makes it worth watching, given how kind of uncreative we've been this season. Bojan is a player I just love to watch. In amongst all the hurly-burly of the likes of McLean and Allen and Shawcross and all the rest of it, I go games to watch people like Bojan. So he's absolutely my favourite player, and I hope that performance against Sheffield Wednesday has convinced not only just Nathan Jones, but more of our fans to just really get behind him and hope he can stick with us.
Awesome. Yeah, he is definitely a high-profile name on there. Okay, what about who's the guy that is going to cause Rovers some problems in midfield for not necessarily flair, but more of kind of, you know, he might have a loose elbow or a dodgy tackle or something like that. Obviously, Shawcross comes to mind, but is there anyone else who's a bit who's likely to be in the referee's eye, maybe?
Well, if Charlie Adam plays, you can almost put your house on a booking at some point during the match. He's not the most finessed of tacklers, shall we say, and he can sometimes overcompensate for giving the ball away by just swinging a leg out and bringing down the opponent. Joe Allen definitely has a booking in him. The way he plays is so hectic and so up and down the park that it's kind of inevitable that he will foul someone at some point. Not that he's a necessarily dirty player, it's just kind of part and parcel of the way he plays. Like I say, Shawcross can get amongst it. Sometimes I think with Shawcross, the focus is on him in the penalty area. Like, will he pull someone's shirt? Will he maybe throw an elbow or drag someone down? But sometimes you kind of want him to be less of a pussycat and maybe stamp his authority on the game more, be more like what Danny Bart has been for us, just absolutely taking no prisoners. And Bruno Martins-Indi certainly knows how to put a tackle in, but I'd say he's much more kind of cultured defender than Bart and Shawcross.
Okay, all right. What about who's a player in Stoke's books these days that gets too many plaudits, that you think that it doesn't really deserve it? Who would you say is the most overrated?
I might be chased out of town for this by Stoke fans, but Joe Allen can be that for us, I think. And don't let many Welsh people see this, because I will be the subject of a Twitter storm. But for his reputation in the game, for his Liverpool experience, for his Euro 2016 experience, this is a guy who was in the Euro 2016 team of the tournament. I just sometimes don't see what other people see. He is 100% effort, he is 100% commitment, and he does have quality. But a lot of it is due to not being played kind of in the correct position a lot of the time. A lot of it is maybe over-reliance on him, and a lot of it is kind of hoping that he'll be a more creative player than he is. But sometimes I just look at Joe Allen and I think, oh, why aren't you as good as Atebo, who doesn't have all your experience? And like I said, I don't want to knock him too much because he will always give 100%, but he sometimes goes missing for me, and he sometimes maybe overcompensates for a stray pass or a bad bit of positional play by charging around and not really holding his position. He can be a headless chicken, I suppose.
Yeah, he did catch my eye out when I looked at the team. I thought, still got Joe Allen. I thought it'd been sold maybe, but maybe he's here for the long haul. Okay, what about a player who doesn't get a lot of plaudits? Someone who does do a lot of the donkey work, perhaps Itobu, or is there anyone else in that category that should get some more praise?
Well, like I say, Bojan definitely has his critics among the fan base, and people will say things like, well, he went out on loan, didn't really do it there. How many managers have tried him but not really stuck with him? So he'll definitely be one who is maybe underrated because other fans overrate him. So there might be a bit of a reaction to that. I think as a player who's maybe underrated by our current manager is Ryan Woods, who came in under Gary Rowett and I thought was a very assured central midfield player. He wasn't a particularly creative player, but he did the kind of simple things right. He can get accused of being like a crab and just passing it left and right rather than forwards. But I think that was what we needed at that time. And when results started to go a bit more pear-shaped under Rowett, Woods kind of drew a lot of the criticism, I think perhaps unfairly. I hope there is room for Ryan Woods in the future for us, because I think there is a quality player there, and I want him to kind of be a bit more confident and maybe come out of his shell. But Woods is the one that springs to mind. And also Martins-Indi has been playing at left back for the past few games, and I think partly due to the fact he's playing out of position, he hasn't maybe got the credit he deserves for his role in our recent run of clean sheets.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you probably pretty much covered the majority of your squad, but let's go back in time a little bit. Who has been your ultimate Stoke player? Who's the one that you've liked the most since your first day as a 5-year-old watching Stoke? Who's been the best ever?
Well, there's the distinction between best and favourite, which I think we've had to make since we've been in the Premier League and had quality players. Arnautovic, Shaqiri and Zonzi, people like that. But all-time favourite player, not because he was a great goal scorer, but because he was a scorer of great goals, led the line for us when we got promotion to the Premier League, played with a smile on his face, had outrageous moments of skill. Mr. Ricardo Fuller, who we interviewed in the summer for our 100th episode of the podcast, and I was like a giddy schoolgirl meeting Ricardo Fuller, and just for so many fantastic individual moments of brilliance, he cemented his place as I think most Stoke fans would say, legend, because he was the joker in the pack under Tony Pulis. Tony Pulis, big mean bunch of guys, Fuller's no fairy at 6'3" and whatever, but just having that guy who was the individual flair in a Tony Pulis team that was so very functional, I think he definitely stands out for me.
Cool. Yeah, remember him well. Okay, now if you could swipe any other player from in the division, whether it's someone from Leeds, someone from Ipswich, dare I say it, or anyone in the middle of the pack, if you could take one player, put him in your Stoke team, who would you swipe?
Well, Abel Hernandez at Leeds, incredible player, and we have missed flair and creativity in the side. So, but you could choose a lot of players like that in the league, I think, that kind of just would add that flair and impetus. I mean, Dak at your place was very impressive when he came to the Bet365, but we've also just missed a goal scorer. I think for the past, I don't even think since we had Peter Thorne back in the third tier, have we had a proper out-and-out goal scorer, someone who just stuck it in the onion bag. We've had good strikers, but maybe not great goal scorers. So I would say someone like Billy Sharp, someone who just plays with 100% heart on his sleeve every time. I think a lot of Stoke fans could get behind a Billy Sharp type player up front for us.
Yeah, good call. I've got here the team that you hate the most and why. I think your local rival, is that Port Vale or something like that? But what about in this division, in the Championship? Who do you hate? Yeah. Personally?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. We haven't really had that proper rivalry. Even Port Vale, we haven't played in so long that it becomes less intense over time. But perhaps due to the Rowett situation, perhaps due to maybe a bit of jealousy on our part, I think there's definitely been something happening with us and Derby this season. There's been a lot of bickering that they came to our place and brought a load of snakes for Gary Rowett, and that was a real hot-blooded game at the time. And they are relatively local to us as well, just being over the road in Derbyshire. I really want to beat them, I'd say, more than any other side in the league, purely because I just got sick of the Frank Lampard's Derby stuff all summer.
Yeah. I'm with you a little bit on that. Okay, where do you think you're going to finish this season? Obviously, you're in the middle of the pack right now, on a decent run, I guess, at least not losing anyway. So where do you think you finish?
I can't see us getting too much higher than we are now, because there is quite a decent pack of clubs chasing the playoffs, and I feel like we are going to come up against teams with a lot more to play for than us, and we've got Norwich before the end of the season, we've got Middlesbrough, we've got Sheffield United. So results are going to be quite hard to come by. I'd say if we can finish 12th to 13th, that would be good, but if I was a betting man right now, I'd probably say where we are now, 14th.
Okay. And what about this weekend? Final score prediction. What you got for me?
Well, surely a 5th 0-0 in a row is impossible. It must be, surely. You just can't happen. 5 0-0s in a row.
Well, not with our defence. Not with our defence. It ain't going to be 0-0. So.
Okay, that's maybe reassured me. I'll go for The heady, exciting goal fest of a 1-1 draw.
Ooh, that's right now. I'll probably take that. But come game time, you never know. You never know. Okay, well, thanks once again for joining us with your detailed expertise on all things Stoke City. Probably, it looks like it. We could do this again next season because it doesn't look like we're both going anywhere. So hopefully that'll be okay, and we could chat up a storm again next season. Is that all right?
That is perfectly fine by me. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, until then, I'm going to let you get out of here. Now, over the years, a number of players have played for both Blackburn Rovers and Stoke City. Here are 3 of them. Keith Andrews, that's right. Maybe a player ahead of his time. Is more in demand now, sort of defensive midfielder, trying to do a lot of the donkey work. Kind of like Jason Lowe-esque, but I don't know. I don't even know how I would compare the two, who was better. But anyway, he did play for Stoke City, and he also played for the mighty Blue and White. How about this guy? Paul Gallagher, still playing, still kicking the goals in, and still not, doing well against us. He has actually on the books at Preston North End these days, but he did play for Stoke, and he started his career with Blackburn Rovers. And wrapping it up, it is this fella, goal scorer. Did he actually get an England cap? And did he actually get an England goal? I can't really remember, but it's Jay Boothroyd, formerly of Arsenal. He also played for Stoke. He also played for Blackburn Rovers, and he had a spell in Perugia in Italy, I believe. Now, if you want to check out a full list of all the players that I know of that have played for both Blackburn Rovers and Stoke, head over to my WordPress site. Details to that sucker in the old description below. I've had a little bit of what I've had to say about the match. Now, what you really want to hear is what Cass the Cat has got up her sleeve. What she predicted for this bad boy up against Stoke at Ewood Park. Let's take a look. That's pretty much all I've got for you today, folks. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a good old thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, smash your subscribe button and get your bang out to date with all things Blackburn Rovers related, Championship related, World Football related. We're going to all here under one roof. And while I still have you, make sure you drop your own predictions and comments and thoughts about this game in the old comment section down below, and check out the old description, links to my other social media platforms, Twitter and Facebook, boys. Catch me up on the fly, can have a little chat about it. You can talk to me as the game goes on. Yeah, I'll be watching it. I'll have my binoculars on it. I'll be staring down, hopefully, at a Rovers victory this weekend. I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually looking forward to Easter. Back-to-back games there. Looking forward to that. It's QPR and Bolton, both winnable games. Hopefully we can hope. They sacked Steve McLaren. Whatever his name is, McLaren, too soon. They should have waited until Easter. We could have took advantage of that. Anyhow, I'm going to let you get out of here. I'll be back again in this, guys, shortly after the final whistle, after the Stoke game, and hopefully there's a smile on my face, because recently there hasn't. There's been all doom and gloom. But anyway, until then, thumbs up, subscribe. Ciao for now. Thanks again for watching. Please like, share, and most importantly, hit the subscribe button to keep you bang up to date with all things Blackburn Rovers related, Championship related, football related. We've got it all covered right under one roof. And while I still have you, please be sure to check out some of the old videos scattered along here. I hope.